never wavered. They found a way to turn things around, beat Louisville, make an appearance here in the tournament. I know it
Yeah.
didn't end the way you wanted to, but
Sure.
how proud are you of your guys for what they accomplished?
I'm proud. I'm proud of our players. I really am. I'm proud of our guys. You know, we're in this thing together, and you know, I think they would tell you the same thing. Going through this, you know, this second half of the year where we had the tough stretch, it was a we thing. You know, we were in this thing together, and our older players, they stayed positive. They showed up every day and worked hard. They played as hard as they could. Even today, you know, it was a tough game today, but you know, our guys were pulling for each other. You know, we competed as hard as we could. We just, you know, ran into a better team, and they played better than we did today. But you know, all in all, I'm proud that we got into the NCAA tournament, and got the opportunity to be here. You know, certainly our guys fought their way through it to put us in this position. I just wish we could have played a little better, you know, while we were here and made a little bit more of a run.
Grayson, how much does this sting, man, for you?
It hurts, you know. I've had a blast playing for Clemson. I think I'm going to go home and look up how I can get a 60 or somehow. I don't know if there's a loophole there, but no, yeah, I've had a blast, so it hurts. You know, it's tough. That's all I can say.
Monty, did you feel like you guys had better at bats today and hit some ball hard and sometimes it just didn't fall?
We did. I mean, we hit some balls hard, especially early in the ball game. I mean, we lined out with the bases loaded and to third base. You know, hit a ball hard into right center field. You know, even the double play ball that we hit, Michael Green hit, was smoked. I mean, balls hit hard. We hit some balls hard right at them, and we had some tough luck. But that's baseball. But we also had many opportunities with 2 outs to try to come up with a big hit, and we just couldn't do it. But you know, you look at, you know, it's not like we struck out a ton. We had some walks. We had 10 hits, but we only scored 2 runs. We just couldn't come up with that big hit. And if we were able to do that, you know, the game could have been different. And you know, difference in the ball game was, you know, Jacksonville, they did hit with 2 outs. They came up with some big at bats with 2 outs, and you know, they put together the big inning in the second, all with 2 outs. So, you know, they were the better 2-out hitting team with runners on base.
Grayson, you obviously started your college career somewhere else, but came to Clemson. What has it meant to you to be a part of this program, and what will you remember most in your time here?
Yeah, it's meant the world. Obviously I came here and the team, you know, Coach Lee, the people in Clemson just accepted me with open arms. Ever since I stepped foot on campus, and you know, I had to sit out, which was tough, and I've had some injuries here or there, but you know, the last 3 years playing here I wouldn't trade it for the world. I've had a blast. Like I said, I mean, it's coming to Clemson is an experience like you can't really describe, I guess, until you're a part of it. And yeah, I'll look back on the last 4 years as something that changed me as a person for the better, and I've loved every second of it.
While giving up some big runs at the end of these regionals the past few years, do you feel like you guys have just ran out of vision at the end?
Well, we would have liked to have pitched better in this regional, and last 3 years are the last 3 years. I mean, I'm not going to talk about the last 3 seasons. I think it's important just to move forward and talk about this year. But yeah, I mean, I think there's no secret. We would have liked to have gotten deeper into the games with our starters into 3 games. I mean, that's a big factor in why you give up runs. The bottom line is if you got to go to your bullpen early in the game in the 3rd and in the 4th inning, if you got to turn it over early to somebody else, that makes it tough because you're asking guys to stretch themselves out and throw sometimes 40, 50 pitches, and they may be more of a 1 to 2 inning type guy. So you're asking them to do some things that sometimes they're just not accustomed to doing. So, yeah, we needed to pitch better. We needed to get deeper into our starts, and we were unable to do that. So that's certainly an area that moving into the fall is going to be a big point of emphasis for us. We've got to develop starters. We've got to do a better job of developing starters and forcing guys to pitch through situations and pitch with runners on base and stretching guys out. That's going to be a big focus for us because that was an issue for us this year. So that's just an area we got to get better at. We also got to get better with hitting with runners on base. So we had some power in this team. We scored some runs, but we weren't quite as good as we needed to be when it came to situational hitting and hitting with runners on base and doing things of that nature. I thought our defense was fairly solid all year. But bottom line is teams that are good, that play for a long time, they can pitch with runners on base and hit with runners on base, and we needed to be better in both those areas.
As far as developing starters, how do you feel about the guys you return and some of the guys you're bringing in?
Well, we've got a good group coming back, and we've got a good group coming in. So we've got a good nucleus, a good mix, and that's going to be a focus for us. Is just try to play as much as we can and start everybody. Just try to start everybody and stretch everybody out. Let's see who can start so that we feel a little bit like we have more answers going into the spring. That's again, you're going to take every year and look at that year and say, okay, what could we have done better? And you apply it to the fall. That's our opportunity to apply what we learned from the previous season. And as a head coach, I've got to do a better job. I got to do a better job in all areas of the program, and our assistant coaches do as well. And we feel like we got a good group coming in next year, and we'll hit the ground running in August when they get here.
Kyle, if you do come back next year, what can you guys do different to make sure it don't end this way?
I think obviously, like Coach said, there's a lot of things you can take in, reflecting on a season. But the main thing is a lot of the work that gets done in the off season, and that's really, you got to go into the fall and just think, this is just like the spring. You're going to compete. You got to work hard in the weight room, and that's where you win ball games right there, is in the fall, in the off season. And then the spring, it's just about competing. And today, Jacksonville State just competed harder than we did, and that's how it is. So, next season, I think just for the guys that are coming back, it's just one of those things where you just got to compete and go out there, play your best baseball, and you got to believe.
Monty, what's the key to getting your team to play the best baseball in the regional?
Yeah.
That's been a struggle.
Yeah, it's been a struggle. I think if you look at it, we've won game 1 4 years in a row, and we've lost game 2. And when you lose game 2, that puts your back against the wall. So you have to have extremely deep starting pitching to be able to make that run if you lose one of the first 2 games. So that's been the issue, I think. When you look at it, look at last year, and again, I don't like to talk about previous seasons, but we lost game 2, and then our starter got knocked out early in game 3, and we won that game, and then next thing you know, we're out of pitching to a degree. So I think the whole key is you've got to get deep starts. The teams that are, let's look at Ole Miss. Look at Ole Miss. You got Etheridge and Nikhazy, and those 2 guys are able to go deep into the ball game, and they win. So we've got to be able. It's pretty simple. We've got to be able to get deeper into the ball game with our starting pitching in the first 2 games of a regional if we're going to win a regional. That's the bottom line. Just look around the country right now. You look at how many teams are hosting regionals this year that have lost one of the first 2 games. Why? Why did they lose? Because their starter probably got knocked out early in the game, or they ran into a starter that was able to go deep into the game. And that's baseball. Momentum is always going to be based on starting pitching. And we got to do a better job of developing starters and having guys ready to go deep into ball games and get through a lineup 3 times. That's the key. And we have not been able to do that, and that's why we have not gotten out of the regional round.
Monty, do you think there's a reason behind that? Maybe guys are just tired, but they get times in the year. Maybe they're throwing too hard in the offseason. Maybe it's causing it to where they falter towards the stretch?
Well, we haven't had a pitcher at Clemson in the last 4 years throw more than about 18 innings in the fall. Okay? We throw, before we toe the rubber, for about a month before they ever throw a bullpen, and then we throw 6 bullpens before they ever face a hitter. So I don't know from a preparation standpoint what we can do any differently to take care of our arms and make sure they're ready. And they don't increase their pitch count, but about 15 pitches per week as we move through the fall. And we never get over about 70 pitches in the fall. Okay, so I don't know if we can do a whole lot different. You also look at our track record. We've had some injuries, but not a lot. We haven't had guys break down during the spring a whole lot. We've had some guys that had to miss some starts this year, but it wasn't season-ending type injuries. So everybody's going to have to deal with injuries, but I don't think there's anything necessarily that we can do differently in the preseason to develop our guys outside of, we're going to take all our pitchers, let's pair them up, and let's start them. And let's just see which guys can develop into starters. And then when we get to the spring, the guys that we feel like are our starters are going to start, and then we'll start trying to turn the other guys into relievers. I think that's been the hardest part about the fall is stretching guys out. That's the toughest thing about it. So to answer your question, I think we just have to go into the fall with every guy's going to start, and let's see how they do. And then we'll make decisions based on that. As far as guys getting tired, I don't think our guys got tired necessarily throughout this whole spring. You saw it a little bit with Sharp. His velocity over the course of the spring probably dipped a little bit, but he also hit. That's why he didn't hit as much at the end of the fall. at the end of the spring. We tried to limit his reps on the offensive side of things so he could be sharper on the mound. Clark's velocity didn't drop. Hennessy's velocity actually improved over the course of the season. So I don't think it was necessarily an issue of fatigue, when it comes to that.
Any more questions?
Any reason with Brooks why you think it was just a tough year for him after last year and coming back?
He just had a tough year. I can't put my finger on it. He missed more, over the middle of the plate, and he got hit harder. I can't really, the stuff was similar. I just don't think I don't think he executed pitches quite as good as he did last year.